Hello everyone, my name is Alexander and I'm glad to welcome you on our new event from Data Zen Community. Data Zen Community is a community of people who work with data, love data, and are also interested in what's going in data world. Um, all our events, at our events, speaker and real professionals talk about their unique experience, about the challenges that they face every day, the latest news, and the most popular technologies in the data world. Izabella is our guest today. She is a big data engineer in EPAM Systems. She will share her experience of moving to the big data sphere. And today, together with Izabella, we'll try to figure out what big data is, what knowledge you need to join big data, and why this direction is becoming more and more popular. But before we start, I would like to ask you to subscribe to the Data Zen community on social networks and here on YouTube, not to miss our new Zen events. I also urge you to participate as actively as possible in today's interview. And I want to ask you to write questions in the chat and we will address them to Izabella. And our today event is dedicated to big data, and I would like to ask you to tell more about you, our participants. So please write in the chat what field you work in and where you're from. So you can write directly in YouTube chat. And now let's move to our guest. Hi, Izabella.
Hello.
So my first question will be, what's your current role and what's your responsibilities? Tell something about yourself.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. It's nice to see you here. Why my story might be a bit interesting is that lately, which is around half a year ago, I moved from data analytics field to big data, and right now I work as a data engineer on one of the projects for EPAM clients. Right now, what I do, well, I mostly learn a lot, and I try to grasp on as many technologies as I possibly can. Since I'm still at very early stages of my engineering career, but I already do lots of hands-on work on the project. Mostly the technology that I utilize in the biggest part on day-to-day basis, and it will probably not surprise anybody, is Spark. And yeah, this is the technology that takes most of my time. But of course, we work with some others, such as Kafka and the Hadoop, the HBase. Yeah, and that's been in short about me, short detail.
Mm-hmm. Okay, you told that you work in big data. So what is big data? Could you tell to us?
Yeah, so for me, from how I see it, what is the difference between big data and anything else is that technically the big data is a field that processes data that it's difficult to process, because oftentimes you would see that you have a very small data set. For example, I don't know, 4 rows of data as we have in a kindergarten or primary school, and that's easy peasy. We can process it with our eyes. But nowadays, when we're surrounded by stuff like Internet of Things, we're surrounded by social media, we're surrounded by intelligent cars, we're surrounded by websites, applications. They all generate huge amounts of data, which are sometimes very difficult to process. Actually, oftentimes they're difficult to process. And out of there, we can really grasp some very, very needed information. And for me, the big data, and I think for most of us, it's basically, you could say, a science or a field that that it's busy with processing this data and working on the ETL processes, as taking data from place A to B, transforming it to be then further analyzed, and taking some information from it. So I think I found an interesting information lately that in last 2 years we generated 90% of world's data. So you can see that not only big data is big, but big data is hugely growing. It's growing rapidly. and it's getting only bigger and bigger. So what we call big data today might be a relatively small data in 10 years. We don't know that, but yeah, looking forward to see how it will develop.
Yeah, and you also described a lot of tasks like ETL, data loading, data transformation, data analysis. So, yeah, is it only big data? Because we know about data quality, data science. So, could you maybe tell some difference between big data and the rest?
Yeah, for me, although the data family is big, and previously I used to work as a data analyst, and I did some small work on normally would be done by data scientists. I also graduated from like statistics, so I know I intended to become a data scientist. And yeah, data scientists are people who basically create like models. They work with advanced maths, but I think you yeah, that's pretty straightforward. For analytics, we usually utilize what was already pre-processed by data engineers, right? So data engineers work with like the raw data, they pre-aggregate it, they clean it, they prepare it for analyzing. Then data analysts create reporting, they pre-process the data to take some business insights. Then they delivered it with reporting or presentations or some insights to business, to management, to actually make conclusions out of the data, because this is usually the reason why we do process it. Yeah, so the data family is complicated. However, I think and vast. However, I think nowadays the differences between those particular children of the data family are getting smaller and smaller, and we are having more of a blend. So I think that many competencies that you would normally say are belonging to a data engineer can often be found in the field of work of data scientists or data analyst. So in my opinion, those boundaries are not very strict, and it can a bit depend on the project or the specific of your work.
Yeah, okay. And so you told that you worked as data analytics and data analyst. Yeah, and why have you decided to change your sphere to big data?
Yeah, so for me, I really liked my previous job, and to be honest, it was something I was trained to do for most of my life. As I graduated from like mathematical analysis, or like applied math or something like that. And I really enjoyed it for quite a long time. However, after some time, I got more and more drawn into those a bit more technical activities. So when I grew with my seniority as a data analyst, of course, as on my first internship, I started with Excel, like every probably data analyst, or at least most of them. But then I learned Python, I learned more about R, and I really enjoyed that more technical part of my work, or I saw it then as a technical part of my work. So after I spent almost 3 years on a project, I wanted to try something new. I was not feeling that I am developing as fast as I would want to, even though I was working with great people. But yeah, at some point I just decided I want to see something new. And then my delivery managers in EPAM proposed me that, hey, maybe you would like to try, if you want to do something more technical, maybe you could try one of our, courses, and one of them was big data, and they gave me like an overview of possible paths that I could take. One of them was, for example, like Python development, more like Flaskish, Djangish, and this stuff. The other was big data, but I got more drawn to it. To big data. I did some more research on what exactly data engineer does, and this is why I decided to change. And also, what I think is important is that, as I already mentioned, I think that modern data analysts, they already do some some stuff that technically historically could be seen as data engineering. So they develop some scripts in Python and so on and so forth. And I think it's kind of natural, maybe a natural path for me that I kind of advanced in that particular way and became an engineer. And right now, I'm quite happy with that change. Yeah, so that was the main reason that I kind of wanted to explore new areas and yeah, look forward to the future really, because I think it's a bit more futuristic area.
Okay, we have a good question from our audience. So, what background did you come to big data engineering?
From what background I came to data engineering, right?
Yes, with what background? Yes.
With what background? So previously I've been a data analyst, and I was first I started as a junior, and my responsibilities were like fairly easy. But then later on I progressed, and on day-to-day basis I was mostly working with reporting. So that was Tableau and Power BI. I was also working with data analytics automation with Python and R. However, I also have a strong mathematical background, and I had an occasional chance to create some data scientific models. I specialized in data clustering, so yeah, decision trees especially. I wrote my thesis on them, and the project that I spent most time on was supply chain analytics. So my background was also with like a strong business feel to it, because at the last months of my past project, a huge amount of time that I spent was actually translating what we found from our models and analysis to business. Does it answer your question, or I should go further?
Yeah, looks for me it's clear, and yeah, looks like you have education. So your education prepared you for data science, but for some reason you have chosen big data. So
yeah.
Why is it so?
Yeah, so it's actually a lot of people ask me this question, like why why would you do that? To be honest, it's because for me a path it might be an unpopular opinion, but a path to become a data scientist is very difficult. It's not like big data is easy. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that maybe it's like a personal preference, that simply I enjoyed a bit more those different tasks, more regarding automation and not data modeling. Or maybe I just happened to bump to a particularly great lead that I met from engineering, and that's a great guy from data science or something like that. I'm not also at the moment when I joined EPAM, I was kind of employed as a data analytics, not like strict data science, and the work I've done was a bit more ad hoc. However, right now, if somebody would ask me if I would do a different thing, and instead of becoming like more analytics and then switching to data engineering, would I stay in data science? Yeah, I don't think so, because I graduated from my university, and the knowledge I have, to be honest, it's extremely useful, because I think it taught me a lot about like logical thinking, creating some algorithms, and yeah, dealing with numbers, because data is mostly also numbers, right? And however, I don't think I would choose differently. It's maybe just a personal preference. I don't think it's like a strict thing. I just like it better.
Okay, yeah. Now let's talk more about how you move to big data. So could you maybe describe how have you moved to big data? How long did it take? And
oh, Sure, yeah. So as I mentioned before, when I decided to make a move, I was proposed to enter a Big Data 201 course that's prepared by EPAM. And the edition that I completed is already updated with some new technologies, but the one that I took was mostly on on-prem technologies, and the big part was classics like Kafka, Spark, Hive, this kind of stuff. Also some logging, like to prepare you to do day-to-day work. And the course was supposed to take me like around a month, but it took 2 because I just I felt like I needed more time, and it was some things were very new to me that I assumed that probably if somebody would be moving from like more IT part of the world that we live in would be fairly simple. Like for example, something that you might laugh at, but version control. On my previous project, we used like very simple stuff in Git, and then I needed to learn, a bit more and stuff like that. So the course took me 2 months actually, but my mentor who worked with me was very patient, and he explained lots of stuff to me, even though sometimes it was probably a pain and asked millions of questions. Why is it like that? Why couldn't we do it like that? Why this is the right way? Yeah, so it took around 2 months after that. I needed to take like an official EPAM assessment. So my mentor, of course, prepared me a bit for this assessment by checking my knowledge, checking my homeworks, were they correct. After that, the official assessment, it was like I needed to answer a bunch of questions and practical, but also a bit more theoretical questions. Yeah, and after that, I got my badge and I finished the EPAM certification. And my delivery manager started to look for a project for me. The project was found pretty quickly. And to be honest, right now, from the perspective of time, I think that the course prepared me very well to my work that I do right now, that I do on daily basis. And yeah, many cases that I saw in the course I could use in like real life, some tips, and real work, and some tips and so on. I think it was pretty comprehensive, but it was also, yeah, a bit tricky and sometimes maybe a bit difficult for me. So it was definitely a challenge. However, right now when I think of it, I'm glad that I took that challenge.
Yeah, could you please tell more about this course? I mean, how it went? Was it like videos or just practical tasks, and whether?
Yeah, so the course was basically divided into several parts, like fields, and each of the parts was having like after you completed the module, you needed to take an exam on it and also do some homework from this module. So of course it started with some general introduction, like what is big data, why is very futuristic field, why is what this course will teach you, and so on and so forth. Later on, we went through a bunch of technologies, starting from the like HDFS, what is it, why is it different? And to be honest, I didn't have much of a background on this knowledge, and I entered the course knowing SQL and Python. That was really it. But I think it was very comprehensive, even for the beginner. So it was not like they assumed that I will know, I don't know what a cluster is or what data node is. Everything was explained, and it was explained in a very clear manner. However, what was, I think, difficult for me was that you needed to process like a lot of information in like short period of time. And right now, if I already know all of those terms, I know differences between, I don't know, a name node and data node or something like that. It would be much better much easier for me to understand it. However, back then, I felt very lost in all of those new terms. If in all of those things, I did Google a lot of stuff. However, yeah, I think it's normal. Like with every course, we're all beginners at some point. So yeah, then we went through smaller modules, such as, for example, I remember now, Hive and Kafka, for example. And then there was a big module that was regarding Spark, and there were several homeworks for batch processing and Spark streaming. Very different ones, and when I think about it now, that those homeworks had like pretty, we could say like a gradient level of difficulty. So first you started, for example, you had 5 tasks. First one was very simple, and the last one you needed to bug your mentor for 2 weeks to help you. But yeah, yeah, after the Spark module, I think there was a few other ones, for example, the NoSQL module. And after completing all of them, there was a final exam. Right now, I know that, of course, also the new version of the course includes the cloud technologies and the overview of cloud technologies, because that one I needed to take separately afterwards. But right now it's included, so also this knowledge is transferred there. I think also if someone is considering this, you're being given a mentor that is one of the engineers working in EPAM, who's already pretty experienced, and I cannot stress enough how I'm thankful for my mentor, who helped me a lot, and he always had time for me. And I didn't really feel very abandoned with when I got stuck, I didn't know what to do, and so on. I didn't understand something. So it is not a regular self-study. It's more like a guided, say, self-study.
And was this course really useful? So you mentioned that, yeah, it was useful, but do you use all the technologies from this course on your current project?
No, I use majority, but not all of them. However, I think it is kind of dependent on the project, where will you go, and what is being used and what not. But I think it gives you a good pool of technologies that you can later on utilize in your day-to-day work.
And so can you say that after completion of this course, you're ready for the project, or it's just the beginning, and anyway, you have to learn anything?
Yeah, so I would say that because for me,
based on your
I already had some experience with data in general, so I knew lots of stuff like that comes from analytics. For example, I knew SQL very well. I was very familiar with pandas, for example. So the Spark PySpark framework is very similar to pandas. So I had some knowledge. So it's really hard to say if I would be starting from a very, very scratch, would it be enough? However, I think that for somebody that knows anything about like data processing, even in terms of SQL queries or something like that, I think it's enough to start on a project on a fairly junior level. But of course, you need to be prepared that it's a journey, and it's not like you will finish the course and you're already, lead engineer on your project, because no, it's definitely more difficult than that. So I think it's enough to start, but you need to be prepared to, constantly grow in terms of solving new and new problems at work. But I think this is common for all the IT family. But also, I think big data is very rapidly changing, and the new technologies are introduced every day. maybe not every day, but quickly and rapidly. And you need to be prepared that you will need to, at some point learn new stuff. So I think that's, yeah, it's enough for a junior level, but you need to be prepared to be constantly learning really later on.
Okay, yeah, we talked a bit about data engineering life, and so maybe can you talk a bit about your about normal day of data engineer from yourself?
Yeah. So for me, it's like, most of us wake up, make a coffee, and so on. No, just kidding. Yeah, first of all, on my current project, how the can't say too much, I guess, but yeah, the first thing I do in the morning is I check if there were, any errors, if we got any notifications on failures or stuff like that. Of course, we work in like a Scrum methodology, so my work is planned into sprints usually. I have some tasks that are more, you could say, project-wise, so are more, improvements or some stuff like that. But also, as one of the more juniors engineers on the project, I get lots of operational tasks. So, check this, provide this, why it failed, fix it, or something like it. So I do some of that work as well, which I think is not bad because I learn a lot. Yeah, so of course we do have like a daily stand-up on which we share our information. And currently I work in a team and I like it a lot. I think it's a good setup that we have like a data team within which we have engineers, data analytics, and we have data scientists as well. So it allows us to be like in a constant communication. So oftentimes I'm getting, pinged by, I don't know, a data scientist. Hey, can you maybe, do you know where I can find this or this? And, what time does this job finish? Or why is it running long or something like that, So we oftentimes get this ad hoc questions. About most of the time of my time really is some kind of development. What I do right now mostly, I develop some Spark applications using either Python or Scala. However, on the project we mostly use Scala, and also we do have like a daily touch base with all the engineers and my colleagues, a bit more senior colleagues. They give a lot of help to me. They explain stuff. If I don't know something, they are way more experienced than I am. They help me, or during the code review, they say, hey, you can do it like this, you can do it like that. So it's not like, you join a project and you're first time on the role of a data engineer and, they will tell you, hey, build me a platform. It's not like that. You will also, at least I think it's always like that. Maybe I was just lucky, but you will get support and you will keep learning really mostly on the project, doing your job. But yeah, you'll learn new stuff. Sometimes I do what I also do. I utilize my knowledge from my previous work, and when there is a meeting, when somebody needs to present something regarding data engineering that's part of our work, it's probably gonna be me. But yeah, that's been mostly my day.
Yeah, I also wanted to ask, so how much do you write code? So because you mentioned about operation, and so do you really write a lot of code?
Yeah. I think I could say that 30% of my time would be meetings, around 30 would be some operational tasks, like, documentation, checking stuff, and so on. And 40% would be writing code. I think this is realistic right now, but it really depends. But I think I would say like now 30, 30, and 40.
Yeah, looks like it's really differs from your previous role.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we have a question: how stressful was transition to big data area for you?
Okay, do you want honest or no? Honestly, very stressful, and it's not like it's. But okay, so it was stressful in the sense that I really moved from a position when I was a team leader and I was, know it all on a project, to being junior again. And sometimes it was stressful because I think I forgot a bit. Hey, I mean, you went through this. You already went through this. It was of course stressful because you need to go out of your comfort zone a bit. You need to get back into school, get back into learning. These things are pretty difficult. It's no walk in the park, or it wasn't for me at least. But I think it could have been much more stressful if I didn't have my colleagues around me who were, constantly reassuring me, it's fine, you're a week late, with like, no worries, I mean, we'll help you, we'll get there. Or right now on the project, like, yeah, no worries, Izabella, we'll help you, we'll figure this out. It would be much more stressful. But I think that if someone would like to become, transfer from being a data analyst or data scientist into strict data engineering without no stress and without take it easy approach and without a challenge, I don't think it's really possible, because you really need to take that step and do a bit of investment of your time and maybe not mental health, because it's a wrong formulation, but a bit of your maybe comfort zone to do that. So you need to keep that in mind. That probably there will be some stressful moments and some problems you will need to solve. But we're always we, as I maybe mean like EPAM, but probably you can have like lots of people who will be able to help. Also, there's as in every field in IT, like lots of information on the internet, but you need to be prepared for it. That sometimes it's going to be stressful, unfortunately.
Yeah, moving from comfort zone is always stressful.
Yeah, like with everything, right? It's like
Also, you mentioned a lot about about your technologies that you use now. So it was Scala, Spark, and could you maybe list all of them? So what do you use on your current project? Maybe some cloud services.
So regarding cloud services, I think I got like in a good place, because my project right now is the transitioning from on-prem to cloud. So I will be able to experience this process from the 100% on-prem to, I hope, maybe 100% cloud. Right now, we're still mostly on-prem, and me personally, I don't work with the cloud technologies on a day-to-day basis, because I'm assigned to that on-prem platform. However, we do have cloud. We have Google Cloud on the project, so probably soon I will get to work with it. The reality now is, as I mentioned, mostly Spark, which is Python and Scala. We do have a bit of R, which actually I proved myself useful, because I know how to read that code, to deal with it, and so on. We do have a bunch of databases. We do have like Cloudera stack, everything's that. We do have some Kafka, not much, but some. We do have Jenkins, and I think that's it from the biggest ones. I might have forgotten something, but yeah, I think that's most of it.
Yeah, you also mentioned that some skills and knowledge from your previous role are useful now. So what actually do you use now from your previous life?
I use SQL, for example, oftentimes. Write Spark with SQL or Spark and so on. So I use that. I use Python. Scala I learned from the scratch, but it's very similar. So it's technically, it's very similar language. And I use something, I could say, like maybe experience that I had as an analyst. So I think that one of the benefits that I might have currently on a project is that, because I used to be on the more business side, it's a bit easier for me, I think, to understand some business requirements. And like, I think when I get a task, I oftentimes try to, okay, what they want, translate better what they want to what I need to do. I think this is something I definitely use. Some of the communication skills I learned, to sometimes explain a problem. For example, why this solution might be better than that solution, and why this is better for you, you just don't know it yet. So this I use alongside all of those technical things, but also I think experience with like data processing. So some, I don't know, tricks or stuff like that. Yeah, it's fairly similar because sometimes it's really the code that you will write to analyze a data set of 1 million rows and the code that you will write to analyze the data set of 100 million rows. It's sometimes fairly similar, right? It's just you need to probably use Spark instead of Pandas, so it will be slightly different, but the general rules will be similar. So if somebody is thinking, hey, I would like to move from analytics to data engineering, you will use very similar stuff. Like, for example, we use Jupyter a lot on our daily work to like test things, to do like some quick checks, to I don't know, to like draft something or something like that. Data analytics probably use lots of Jupyter. And for example, I use this knowledge, some RStudio as well. So there are lots of things that really I use on day-to-day basis, both technical and less technical, you could say.
And could you give some piece of advice for those who want to join big data? So what technologies are and skills are useful if you want to join big data?
Yeah. Definitely, I would say that SQL is a must, and like knowledge on databases and like data structures. I think it's a must to start from. And I think one programming language and some programming experience would be a huge plus as well. I come from Python, not Java, word you could say. But I think Java will do as well. And yeah, if I would met a person who would have like zero knowledge in any IT field and wanted to take the big data course, I would tell her first spend, I don't know, 2 weeks on learning SQL, to some pretty advanced degree, then spend some time on Python or some other programming language to just understand the basis. And then if you have that, I think you're ready to build on top of that. For example, take this course and learn those technologies. But I think, I think most of people in the IT world have some, at least, experience with SQL. So sometimes you just need to expand it a bit. And why I think SQL is good, because I think it's very. So, okay, technically you can have the same data transformation in almost every language, like for example, Python and SQL. But for me, SQL is more, it's easier to understand at the beginning. And then you can maybe already use some, some knowledge or some patterns that you learn further. So yeah, these are two of my top recommendations, I would say.
Yeah, okay. And what challenges have you met when switching to big data?
Yeah, so definitely first thing out of my comfort zone, that was, not easy. And I came from the situation when I was, as I already mentioned in the previous question, like know it all on a project to, I know anything on the project. So that's, of course, sometimes it's a bit difficult. Also, other challenge was that sometimes I didn't know things that were, for example, completely obvious for my colleagues that already worked in like data engineering for a long time. Some stuff connected, for example, with more like, I I'd say like general IT operations or something like that. I had a problem, like the first big problem I had was that they told me to install something with Docker, and I was like, what's Docker? So I needed to make a step sometimes to the side and learn a bit on those general stuff. And that was a challenge, definitely. And I think what else? Also, probably the fact that I think that as a data engineer, maybe it's a bit of a paradox, but I think that your responsibility in the project is slightly different than when you're an analyst. And actually, one of my colleagues on the project told me, "Hey, when you have this meeting in the Data Gen Z, mention it." He always likes to say that if he makes a mistake, there's a mistake in Tableau and like nobody notices, or it gets no problem. But if we make a mistake, there's no data on production. Data scientists can work, data analysts can work. So that was also a bit of a challenge that I felt that you need to be very careful with stuff, right? That's that was another challenge for me as well. And of course, something that's I think very important to mention is that still, even though I've been on a project as data engineer for 4 or 5 months, still there are new challenges every day that things I haven't seen yet or things I don't know. But I think it's gonna be like that, and it's normal. For all of us, right? There's always going to be some problem that we face. But I like to have in mind that if you're the smartest person or most experienced person in the room, at some point you might consider leaving the room. And I think I a bit left the room on my previous project, and right now I'm definitely still have many problems to solve, many challenges to tackle. Yeah, but it's, as I said, it's not going to be walk in the park. You need to be prepared for some troubles on the way.
Yeah, you mentioned that you have to learn always new technologies, and you also mentioned about Docker and something else. So could you share with us your next plans? What do you want to learn?
My next plans are actually related to a bit the project plan. So right now I'm working a bit on exploring my knowledge on cloud technologies, because I still feel that I don't have enough knowledge in that field, and I want to be more ready if I will already have to start working with it. I want to be prepared. So I choose Microsoft Azure, but I also done some learning on GCP already. And I'm in the way of learning this, and I think this is the focus for the professional growth for me for now. This is what I do in my when I have some time I want to learn. But still, I have this feeling that even just working at my current position, I'm still growing professionally, and I really like it, and that's something what I didn't have on the previous project. So when I wanted to grow, I needed to invest my own time. And right now, I mean, my own time, more than after those 8 hours we spent at work and so on. And right now, even when I'm doing my professional tasks, there's always something new, and I feel just like I'm growing also at work with doing my daily tasks. But yeah, for further improvement for me, the short term would be definitely know more about the cloud technologies, and also know more about how they're different. So just take a grasp on each and every one of them, and then probably learn one in detail before I will have some experience with it, because I hope to get soon.
Is it okay for you that you also understand that you don't know everything and you also have to learn something new? So how have you cope with it?
No. How do I cope? as I said, it's it's not always easy because for some people, when they get used to the comfort you have, right? Because if you have a job that, I don't know, you do everything about the platform you work on, maybe not everything, but you know a lot. You're the person that other people come for advice and so on and so forth. You're like more comfortable at work, obviously, right? And you know your toys and everything. And here it's a bit different, but something that kept me through the tough times, you could say, is that, hey, I mean, I can always go back. If I will fail as a data engineer, probably someone will take me as a data analyst at some point. And what do I risk? I risk really nothing, because the only thing that can happen is that, okay, someone will tell me, or I will decide I'm no good at it, I want to go back to analytics, and I will go back to be a data analyst, but having more knowledge, having more experience, improving my technical skills, improving my programming skills, and meeting new people, having new projects, new challenges. So it's really a win-win situation. Especially that I was in a position when I knew that probably if I tell my delivery managers, hey guys, it's not for me, I don't feel good with that, I don't want to do it, they would probably say, okay, then maybe either we can give you a project on your previous line of work, or we can try something else, or so I think it's if you're not feeling, and I'm not talking to our gorgeous guests, if you're not feeling that you're progressing, I think big data is really worth a try. And yeah, you can always just say after some time, I don't know, working a year on a project or something, just say, it's not for me, nothing terrible will happen, I guess. So I gave myself time that I will make a final decision after half a year, and half a year is next month. But for now, a spoiler, it seems that I will stay a data engineer for a bit more, unless there's some tragedy coming in December, but hopefully not.
Yeah, let's check questions from our participants. Yeah, and there is a question. Would it be sufficient to switch with intermediate SQL and no Python skills? But there's a question, not switch, but start the course. Yeah.
Start the course.
Yeah.
I would recommend to do some course on Python programming first, and then take the big data course, because I think it's probably possible, but why to drag yourself? It's going to be much harder. And I think probably in summary, it will take around the same amount of time, because at some point you will need to go back and learn a bit about programming. So I think how I can advise you to tackle this, I would first take a course on probably some stuff that's as I called it, general IT. So like the Linux, some stuff on Unix, some stuff maybe on Docker, some stuff on Python. Docker maybe is not necessary, but some programming like Python and SQL intermediate. Yeah, I think if you're feeling comfortable working with SQL, I think it's enough. Yeah, you don't need to be a biggest expert in the world, but I would recommend to spend some time to prepare for the course first. And then take it. It's going to be easier for you, it's going to be less stressful for you, and it's going to be probably better, because you will understand more, and all in all, you'll be able to finish it quicker and with bigger benefit to yourself.
Yeah, and we also have a question, how long have you been in data before big data?
I graduated in 2019, and I already worked at the university. So in total, it's going to be around 3.5, maybe 4 years. yeah, around 4 years in total, not only in EPAM, but in total. So I started as a mathematics tutor at the uni, but then I already started working as a data analyst, and yeah, so 4 years.
Yeah, and also you mentioned that programming knowledge and experience is important, and so is it really required? So how do you think? For example, yeah, sorry for interrupting. For example, yeah, what if, for example, DevOps, so without programming knowledge, maybe experience?
For me, I don't think it's the extensive knowledge or some great experience is required. But I think it's good to have just maybe I don't know 10-hour entry course or 5-hour entry course. I think that would be a bit beneficial because, for example, with Spark applications, then you will use lots of programming, right? I mean, yeah. So maybe it's not necessary, but it will make things a bit easier. But I think like a general grasp on it should be enough to start the course, because you will get to know those technologies. You will get to know the process, and when you will join the project, then you will keep learning. However, I think it's just more for you to make it a bit easier to take the course and feel more comfortable with it. So I don't think that huge experience is necessary. I think just a grasp might be enough to start. To make it more comfortable and easy to learn for you.
Yeah. Also, we have an interesting question. Do you have any regrets after moving to big data?
Do I have any interesting question? I do have one regret. I have a regret because I started the course in April and I finished the course. As I say, I was a slow student, so I finished it in January. Sorry, not January, June. Yeah, June. And after that, I was immediately enrolled on a project. So I skipped my summer vacation this year, and this is my regret. But I'm planning to go in the winter, so not a big regret. No, it's just kind of a joke. But right now, I don't think I have a regret to it, especially that, as I said before, I have this inner feeling, which I think keeps me calm, that, hey, you can always go back, right? It's not like you need to be a data engineer forever. For now, I'm having fun. I think it's great. I like what I do. But in the past, I had points when I thought it was a mistake. That no, like it's not for me. Like I don't know this. I'm never gonna catch up on this. But at this moment, already after a couple of months, I don't think I regret taking the course. The only thing I might regret is my summer vacation that I skipped this year because of the new project.
Yeah, we also have an interesting question. So you are a big data engineer, and could you tell us about the most challenging task that you already met as a big data engineer?
Okay. I cannot tell too much, but I can tell like in general a bit. So we had like a business requirement to take the data from, you could even say like take the data from nowhere. So we received some data through a Kafka topic, and they want us to enrich it with a whole bunch of information. That's really very difficult it was very difficult to get this enrichment. It was the data that was very hard to get, like counters and then some strange aggregations and so on and so forth. And for this task, I needed to, well, it was difficult because I needed to combine, it was huge amount of data, so I needed to use my knowledge that I learned on how to optimize stuff and, so to even make it process. Then I needed to use lots of knowledge on what they even want to translate this requirement. And then I needed to write a code that will do it using lots of basically all the knowledge I had to make it work. Yeah, so I think that was one of them. Also, some time ago, I was working on a different task, and yeah, my project lead gave me a code review with like 70 comments, and I was reading these comments like, and he was like, "Hey, maybe you can use this," and I don't know what like this is, and I'm like, "Oh my god!" I started googling like, "What is that? How do I use it?" But after like around a week, with his help, we actually implemented all of them, and I learned. Whole new part of Scala programming. So yeah, these were, I think, two most challenging tasks that I can tell in general, because obviously I cannot say in detail, right? But yeah, I guess sometimes business requirements are very hard to translate into an ETL process. But yeah.
Yeah, and we also have a question that close to what you told us. So, what was the longest task you've run in big data? So, I guess it can be the long maybe with due to big programming task or maybe due to solving questions. So,
But the run that like the time that this like
longest
job
task.
was
Okay.
running, or that I was working on a task. I
Yeah,
can
looks
answer
like
both.
longest task that you run.
That I run. I think on the project right now, I think it was 15 hours. We have a process that runs daily, and then there is and I was actually working on improvement of this process, because it was taking more than 24 hours, and our platform is designed in such way that it's a problem for several reasons. But technically, you need to fit one ETL into one day. That's how it's currently designed. And we had a problem that it was running for more than the day. It was crashing, and it actually crashed our database once. So then my job was to do something with that so we can run this job. So we changed a bit the process of the job, what it was doing. And currently now it runs for 15 hours, and it refreshes basically all the data from like for the main KPI, you could say. Because I'm yeah, maybe that's enough. Like on the main KPI for the client for like I think it's a year or something like that. So that was and it was very tedious, because um, when you test it, like imagine like testing this kind of thing. And of course, I tried to test on like a smaller sample of data, but at some point I needed to run it in whole, and it sometimes get tedious, right? Because testing or working on a job or debugging a job that takes, I don't know, 30 seconds is always less tedious than working on a job that takes, I don't know, 10 hours or something. But most of the time, yeah, they don't take that much. At least
Yeah,
at my current project and my current tasks.
yeah, we also have many questions, like interview questions, and but we're also running out of time. So let's move to our special question from our community. So, if not IT, what would you be doing?
I would be a mathematics teacher. I would teach math. I love teaching and I love mathematics, and yeah, I think it's a very, very how do you say it? It gives you lots of satisfaction. Unfortunately, due to my my job in IT right now, I'm no longer a tutor from like 3 years, but sometimes I miss it a bit, and I think that yeah, I would be a teacher.
Do you mean in school or in university?
Actually, can be both. Like I would probably prefer at the university, like teaching statistics or teaching something like that. But school would do. I would need to think about it, but definitely something with mathematics, like teaching people maths. I would think I would do.
Okay, yeah, great. So, yeah, looks like we are running out of time. So, yeah, thank you very much, Isabella, that you came to us and share with us your experience. Thank you all participants that you were watching us and asking interesting questions. Don't forget to subscribe on Community Z and YouTube and our other social networks, not to lose our new notifications for new events. So stay tuned and goodbye.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Enjoy your evening.